The criminal underworld is built on the illusion of invincibility. For 3 long years, a highly organized crew operating across the English Channel believed they had achieved it. No phone taps could hear them. No surveillance could catch them in the act. They moved through the UK's ports and highways like a ghost fleet, armed with what they thought was an unbreakable digital fortress, the EncroChat phone. To the outside world, the men staring into those encrypted screens were regular businessmen, fathers, and sons. But in the dark web of organized crime, they were the architects of a narcotics empire worth hundreds of millions. At the center of this web sat a coordinated 12-man syndicate using the most boring, invisible cover imaginable, printer ink. And running the distribution lines alongside them was a man named Ross McGuire. To understand Ross McGuire's role, you have to look at the top of the food chain. The infrastructure was built by Jonathan Strogylos, a man who didn't just sell cocaine. He ran an elite, corporate-grade importation service. Born in 1987, Strogylos designed a supply chain that bypassed every traditional border check. The operation was clinical. High-purity cocaine was stockpiled at a secret location in the Netherlands. From there, it was packed inside pallets of printer toner cartridges. This wasn't some amateur job of stuffing baggies into cardboard boxes. The product was professionally sealed inside the heavy industrial casings of the cartridges themselves. Strogylos was so confident in his ink trail that he leased the route to other organized crime groups, charging them a premium fee per kilo just to use his stealth network. In just one 3-week window in 2020, this syndicate imported cocaine with an estimated street value of £132 million. They were moving weight on a scale that rivaled cartels. Once the cartridges cleared the ports via totally legitimate courier services, they were dropped off at a Safestore unit in Oldbury, West Midlands. This was the gang's clearinghouse. This is where the heavy lifting began. The pallets were cracked open, the industrial casings dismantled, and the Class A poison was stripped out for the streets. This is where the 12-man crew came into play. Ross McGuire, born May 25, 1988, was a vital cog in this machine, working the supply side once the drugs hit British soil. He wasn't working alone. The floor managers and distributors included Matthew Parsons, a heavy hitter who took on the logistics, and Paul O'Brien, who helped manage the staggering amounts of dirty cash generated by the sales. You had guys like Lee Mortimer, Marcus Raymond Elmer, and Paul Shaw coordinating the drops, and Marcin Jades handling imports of both cocaine and heroin. It was a well-oiled, viciously efficient machine that ran on a weekly basis for 36 months without a single red flag. But what makes the McGuire story a completely different animal is the family bloodline running through the evidence logs. This wasn't just a crew of hired hands, it was a multi-generational operation. In the dock at Isleworth Crown Court, Ross wasn't the only McGuire facing the judge. John Patrick McGuire, born in 1959, stood right there in the fallout. He pleaded guilty to the supply of cocaine, proving this was a father and son shadow business. The old-school street knowledge of the older generation fused perfectly with the encrypted, digital reach of the younger one. And the shockwaves didn't stop there. By early 2026, the Merseyside police issued fresh charges that rocked the Liverpool underworld all over again. Anthony McGuire was pulled in for conspiracy to supply cocaine following a new, deep-dive sweep of that exact same EncroChat server data. It proved that the police were still digging up ghosts from 2020, unearthing the true depth of the family's footprint in the Northwest drug trade. The downfall of this empire didn't come from a rat or an undercover cop. It came from a single, catastrophic point of failure miles away in Roubaix, France. Law enforcement cracked the EncroChat servers. Instantly, the fortress collapsed. Every single message the gang sent, every weight they verified, every price they negotiated, every joke they made about being untouchable cops, was being read in real time by the National Crime Agency. Georgina Venturella, the specialist prosecutor for the CPS, laid it out perfectly. She noted that Strogylos arrogantly refused to admit his involvement, but the encrypted messages exposed a process designed to maneuver colossal quantities of cocaine across the UK. The data was bulletproof. There was nowhere to hide. On June 27, 2024, the hammer finally dropped. Isleworth Crown Court handed out the kind of sentences that break men. Jonathan Strogylos, the ringleader, was buried under a massive 31-year sentence. Matthew Parsons got hit with 23 years and 2 months. Paul O'Brien took 21 years. Lee Mortimer caught 18 years, Paul Shaw got nearly 18, Marcin Jades got 16, and Marcus Elmer got 15.5. Ross McGuire was handed a sentence of 7 years and 7 months for his role in the conspiracy. The rest of the crew, including Liam Cherrett, Jonathan Whitley, and Anthony Sheehan, were all scooped up and locked away. The court didn't just take their freedom, they immediately triggered proceeds of crime confiscation orders to strip them of every piece of wealth they'd built from the ink trail. The syndicate thought they had designed the perfect crime. They hijacked the veins of legitimate global shipping to pump billions of pounds of narcotics into the UK. Today, the Safestore in Oldbury is just a quiet, empty unit, and the men who ran the empire are scattered across the maximum security prison system. But as the 2026 arrests of Anthony McGuire prove, the EncroChat era is a beast that refuses to die. The digital fingerprints left behind years ago are still actively hunting them down, leading to new raids, new charges, and ruined lives. For Ross McGuire and the rest of the crew, the encrypted trail they thought would protect them became the exact thing that built their cages. In this game, the ink never truly dries.